everyone, my name is Maddie, welcome back to my channel and welcome to an extremely large February and March wrap up. So it's all got a bit chaotic. I didn't do a wrap up in February because until the last week of the month I'd only read 3 books, which we'll get into a bit more in the stats. And so in my head I was like, I'm not going to need to do a wrap up, I've barely read anything, and at this rate I'm not going to read anything in March either. And so I'll just do a wrap up then, and it'll be like 10 books and that'll be about right and it'll be fine. I did then read a lot in the last week of February, but because I'd got it in my head that I wasn't doing a wrap up and I was quite busy and I wasn't really making videos and then I got COVID, it just kind of never happened. And so I was like, that's fine, I'll do it at the end of February and March. Then had a little bit of an insane reading month in March, in a good way, for sure. But it now means we have 23 books to wrap up in one video. So, it's me. I'm making it into a game. This game doesn't have rewards or punishments, but it's just a bit of fun. So basically, I will be setting a 1-minute timer on my phone, and I get a maximum of 1 minute to talk about each book. Knowing the books I have in my stack, I am going to give myself 2 exceptions. I may not use them because both of those books have been talked about in other videos, but I do have 2 books I may want to talk about in a little bit more detail, so I may take 2 exceptions. But other than that, we're going to do 23 books in 23 minutes. I'm also therefore probably going to do this pretty much unedited, which is terrifying because I want to have a time on screen and that's not going to work if I trip over my words and get it wrong. So this may be a little bit chaotic, but it's the only way I can see this video being around the 30-minute mark and not being like an hour long. So I'm very quickly going to start off with some stats for February, then we'll do all the February books. I'll have a breather to do the March stats, and then we'll do the March books. So, kicking us off, February stats. So in February, I somehow ended up reading 8 books. I read 3 books up to the 20th of February, and then read like 5 books in the last 8 days. Does anyone know how that happened? No, certainly not me. It was a slow start, but then I got going. So, you know, not the worst reading month, and that totals up as 2,956 pages, which works out at 106 pages a day. So it ended up being really good, and that's because, as you'll see in the next stat, one very long book. So the average book length was 370. As I said, this is because I had one 800-page book and it massively skewed the averages. So all in all, not a bad reading month. It felt like I was slumping at the time, but then somehow I kind of pulled it back around. And then moving into genre, I read 3 fantasy books, 2 romances, and then 1 dystopian, 1 contemporary, and 1 sci-fi. For age range, I read 6 adult books and 2 YA, so about my standard split at the moment, more adult than anything else. And then for star ratings, this was a little bit disappointing. I had no 5-star reads. I did have 6 4-star reads and 2 3-stars, so it could have been worse, but no 5s in a month for me? That's quite sad. I needed some good books after that. So, I've got the stack of books here, ready to go. Oh my god, it's gonna fall over. I'm gonna get a 1-minute timer up. This is such a bad idea. And we're going to do some quick reviews. Because I only have 1 minute, I can't guarantee that the synopses are going to be particularly detailed. We're probably going to do a very brief synopsis and a very brief review. Almost all of these books I have read in other vlogs, not all of them, but a lot of them. And I will link down below all my vlogs from the last 2 months, so obviously you can find them on my channel. I have a reading vlogs playlist as well. So if you want more detail on a lot of these books, I would recommend checking out those videos. But 1-minute timer, let's go. So the first book that I read in February was Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. This is a fantasy romance book, and I didn't love this one. So very, very, very brief premise. This follows the bargainer and this girl, no idea of her name, Calypso apparently, and she has this whole arm full of beads which are unpaid debts to the bargainer, which is really odd. Normally he comes and collects debts really regularly and doesn't let you build up a load, but she has. And then he comes to collect the debt and it turns into a fantasy romance. I did enjoy this from a romance perspective. The writing was relatively unimpressive to me. I just didn't particularly love it. And the thing I really found is I could not have cared less for the actual plot going on. So there's a bit of like a mystery plot. Couldn't care less. I'm therefore not going to continue this series, I don't think, because I don't really have any interest in continuing, because the romance has happened, they've got together, and now they're going to be doing a mystery together, and I don't care about the mystery. So quite disappointing in my mind. This ended up with a 3-star. That's my timer. I guess that's all I'm going to say. My final thought was I definitely compared it to House of Birth and Blood, which was miles better, so you know, I'm gonna go with the better one. Okay, I am very aware that this is making me talk even faster than normal, and people always complain I talk too fast anyway, so sorry, but we're doing it anyway because it's fun. Right, book number 2, 1 minute timer, start. Okay, second book I read was Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica. This is a dystopian novel. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and basic premise, really weird. This follows a world where there has been a big pandemic, and this pandemic has hit animals mainly, but it means if you eat the meat of those animals, it will then kill humans. So humans can't eat animal meat anymore. Entire world's gone vegetarian, realizes you can't all be vegetarian, no one's getting the right nutrients. So they start farming humans and eating humans, and it's very, very graphic. I gave this 4 stars, it was good. I do think the fact it was translated actually let it down, which is a shame. The writing just was a bit odd. I didn't love it. It was very nondescript writing, which is a bit of a shame because I'm someone that likes fancy writing. But the one big thing for me is this was trying to do 2 things and it didn't do either well. It's only really short. I feel like I don't have enough time. It's only a really short book, and it was trying to both be a slice of life, this is what the world is like, and a bit of like a thriller plot going on. That's my timer. It was trying to do 2 things. It tried to do too much in such a short book. It either needed to be longer and be a big thriller mystery, or it needed to be this length and just be the slice of life, here's what the world is like. Should have picked a side. Okay, I'm not doing well with obeying my timer, but like, it's a lot closer than if I was just chatting by myself. But anyway, let's go on to book number 3. Timer, start. So the third book I read was The Score by, oh my god, Elle Kennedy, that's who. This is book 3 in the Briar Hockey series. I don't know, it's a nice hockey romance series, it's good fun. I feel like I gave this book 5 stars when I finished it. I've recently changed it down to 4.5. Typical romance, when it ends I'm super like, oh my god, exciting, and then I realise like it doesn't deserve 5 stars. It was good. I think it's really notable that I cannot for the life of me remember which 2 people this follows, like at all. I remember vaguely what was in the first one and the second one. This one, I honestly have 0 clue who it followed. It was good. It was a fun romance. I liked the vibes. I have great fun reading these books. They don't do anything particularly special for me. The series as a whole, I think, will remain like kind of a favorite just because it's great vibes. I love, although it's like slightly problematic, I really enjoy the like slightly over-possessive hockey players, especially when they're all being possessive of each other's partners. I kind of like that vibe. It's kind of toxic, but it's also kind of fun because they are all such like lovable bears. I can't even remember which characters this followed though. It was a good time. The ending has made me very nervous for the 4th book, so I think it's gonna have a trope I'm gonna hate. I'll stop there. Okay, on to book number 4. So the 4th book I read was House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J Maas. This is the 2nd book in the Crescent City series by Sarah J Maas. I read the first in January. I pre-ordered this and read it as soon as it came out. This was good. I think I ended up giving this a 4.5. I couldn't give it a 5 simply because of the ending. Again, this is definitely featured in a vlog, and I vlogged my pure anger at the ending. I can't say why, because it's a spoiler, obviously. It's the end of the 2nd 800-page book. But overall, really enjoyed this. Really loved the new perspectives we got in this. We were having a much bigger focus on some of the characters like Ethan and Rune, who are characters I love. So I really, really enjoyed that side of it. It was good. It was fun. I enjoyed it throughout. I didn't get as drawn in as I did in the first one. The first took a while to draw me in, but then I was like, oh my god, crazy, I like was crying at all the stuff that happened. I didn't get that kind of connection to this one as much. This timer is so short. Didn't get that kind of connection to this one, but it was still good. The ending pissed me the hell off, for anyone that knows. I'm still salty about it, not gonna lie. Okay, moving swiftly on to book number 5, which was Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is the ARC copy, it's just the version I read, so it's the one that was on my stack. This I read in like a weekend reading vlog where I read this and the next book, so again, I'll link it. This is a technically marketed as YA, but has aspects of middle grade and aspects of adult as well. Kind of paranormal story following this girl who is orphaned, and all she knows is that her mother died in like mysterious ways, and all the message she's been left by her mother is do not go to Gallant. And then she gets an invite to go to Gallant, I don't know. And she goes and loads of mysterious stuff happens. Loads of mysterious stuff happening. Oh my god, I don't have time for this to screw up. I'm gonna give myself an extra 10 seconds. And mysterious stuff. It's gothic, it's beautifully written, it has like disability, I want to call it rep, because the main character is mute. It is gothic and gorgeous, the writing is stunning, it has illustrations throughout which are like beyond stunning, if I can find any of them, which of course I can't. There's one, my time is beeping. I'm giving myself an extra 10 seconds because I messed up. The illustrations are beautiful, I love them so much. And I just loved this book, honestly. It was a 4.5. I really, really enjoyed it. Everyone's loving it at the moment, which is always good fun. But look at these, they're so pretty. And I love a bit of like mixed media stuff going on. It always makes book fun. And on to book number 6. So book number 6 that I read was Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. This is a sapphic romance, adult romance. I have 2 copies because I have the Illumicrate and I have the regular. I'm gonna hold up the regular. This is so good. This, I think, again, got like a 4.5. It didn't quite scrape into 5-star territory, though it was so, so close. This is just fantastic. This is Delilah Green, who is this badass woman right here, who has to go back to her hometown to photograph her stepsister's wedding, and she's not happy about it. She is not happy about it. But then she meets Claire, I want to say, and things get interesting. What begins as almost a bit of a pranky dairy kind of vibe turns into a romance. It's super sweet. We have the like player of a woman and like the slightly uptight single mum. It's a great vibe. It's adorable. I loved it so much. Highly recommend if you're looking for a sapphic adult romance. Perfectly timed that time. We're getting better. Okay, book 7. Book 7 was My Brother's Husband by Gengoro Tagame. This is a manga, it's the first in, I believe, a duology. I'm starting to wonder if there's going to be more books, but the first 2 definitely wrap up as an entire series. This is a very interesting story. You're following this character here, I can't remember anyone's names, and basically he lives in Japan and his brother has just passed away, and his brother's husband, this dude, shows up and is basically like, hi, I want to see Japan in like memory of my husband. Japan's not necessarily the most, you know, liberal country from what I've heard, and so he's not necessarily comfortable with gay people and LGBT stuff, and it's basically just a massive learning curve for him and his family, and him coming to terms with these things and being comfortable with them. It's very interesting, it is good. I didn't love it as much as I expected. I think I gave it 3.5. It was good, it just didn't hit that much, which is a shame, because I thought it really would have and could have. And for whatever reason, it just kind of didn't quite, but it was good. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. Not a new favorite. Okay, on to the final book I read in February, and this was actually a reread of All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This is the first book in the Murderbot Diaries. I did read it around this time last year, but I didn't get around to continuing with the series, and given how short it was, I thought a reread was in order before I continued, which, as you'll see in a moment, I did. I really enjoy this. This, as I said, follows Murderbot, who is basically a robot designed to protect people. And this one kind of has a consciousness, and it's all from their point of view, and it's very, very interesting. I've said this before, it feels very queer. It's not necessarily, but it feels it. And there are a lot of side characters who are queer, but it's a sci-fi kind of rompy adventure. As the series goes on, it turns more into like introspective kind of vibes and like analysis of what makes you you. Really interesting, greatly enjoying this series. I think I gave the first one 4 or 4.5. It's a good time. I've read it before, I've read it now. I really enjoy these books. My timing is getting better. Either that or I'm just speaking faster, but it feels like it's better. Okay, that wraps us up for February. Let's head straight on into March, starting off with some stats. So in March, I read 15 books. One was a DNF, but if you've seen that video, I read well over half the book, so I'm classing it as read because I read 250 out of 350 pages before I gave up. So like, I'm classing that as read. I read enough. Definitely enough. But anyway, 15 books. Oh, I realized I missed a stat on February. February took me to 21 out of 36 books. Oops. But March took me to 36 out of 36 books for my yearly goal. So I've completed my Goodreads goal for the year. I'm currently undecided about whether I move it. Normally, if I get to this point in the year and I've hit it, I would absolutely move it. But like, I don't know. I also kind of enjoy the fact that it'll probably say like 300% complete at the end of the year. But also I'm probably just gonna like up it to 100, or like, I think I read 105 last year, so I might do, I think it's what Becca does, which is, I have my goal as one book more than I read last year, so put it like 106 or something. I don't know, I'm undecided. If you have opinions, let me know in the comments. But anyway, I read a grand total of 4,749 pages, which is the most I've ever read in a month since, I think, like July 2019. You realize how dumb that is, right? That's an insane amount. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what I was doing. I mean, I've reread a lot of books, so that's probably why. But huge reading month, very proud of myself. I just kicked the camera, but it was a good time. And just for the averages, it works out as 153 pages a day, which is quite a lot, and an average book length of 317 pages, which is definitely a bit shorter, but that is probably because I started the month with 3 novellas, as you're about to see, so makes sense. For genre, massive variety of genres this month. I read 4 sci-fis, I read 4 romances, I read 3 contemporaries, 1 fantasy, 1 dystopia, 1 thriller, and 1 non-fiction book. For age ranges, pretty standard again. I read 11 adult books, 1 new adult, and 3 YA. Nice variety. And then for rating, I did have 6 5-star reads, however, 4 of those were rereads. So I only had 2 new 5 stars, so like not as exciting because the rereads I reread because they were favorites, so like they're gonna get 5 stars. And then I had 4 4-star reads, 3 3-star reads, 1 2-star read, and 1 unrated because it was a non-fiction book and I don't rate non-fiction books generally. So those are the stats. That's how we did. I guess, oh my god, I'm gonna do 15 timers in a row. This is gonna be stressful, but I guess we're gonna put the timer back on and we're gonna go through a lot of books. I'm also not attempting to hold up the stack for this one because 15 books with some of them being chunky is way too much, thanks. I've actually just made a decision. I'm changing my mind slightly. The first 3 books I'm gonna talk about all together in 1 minute and you will see why. So, 1 minute on the clock. Why is it not starting? Let's go. So the 3 books I'm going to talk about together are Artificial Condition, Rogue Protocol, and Exit Strategy. The reason for this is they are 3 Murderbot books. They are all novellas, meaning there's not that much to say about each, and also obviously they're all sequels, so I can't say anything in depth about any of them because, you know, big spoilers. Also, I didn't have particularly varying opinions on them. I gave all of these books either 4 or 4.5 stars. I'm greatly enjoying all of them. Basically, all the thoughts I just had for All Systems Red just carry across. It's great. The character development and introspection and like almost philosophical side of this is so good. I'm really enjoying it. I love the side characters so much. I think one of my favorite things is, I don't know if this is spoilers, but like in the first book and then the second one, it felt like we were going to have a completely different set of characters and a completely different story in every book. And I really enjoyed that that kind of didn't end up being the case. Like we've had people returning, things have started coming back around, and it does follow on slightly more, which I'm enjoying. Good vibes all around. I recommend this series. I haven't finished it yet, but I recommend so far. Okay, the next book that I read was The Power of Women by Jun Sapong. I actually listened to this on audiobook, but I do have the physical book. And this I read for work, basically. Every year in March we pick a book to do with like feminism and gender and read it. Everyone at work reads it. And this year we did The Power of Women. This I quite enjoyed. It's obviously non-fiction and it's, you know, about gender equality. It was, I think, a very good primer and starting point for people in the business who are a lot less aware of these issues, which I think is a good reason for choosing this kind of book when a lot of people are reading it who are on very different levels with how much they understand about everything to do with social justice. So I do think it was good focus on intersectionality, especially with race. It was all right. I think one of my favorite things about this was the tone was actually quite like hard, quite, I don't want to say aggressive, I hate that word, but we're gonna go with it because I can't think of a better one in this time. And I enjoyed that. I think a lot of starting books are trying so hard to like get people on board that they're really like nice. I like that this one was a really like starter book to understand the issues, but it gets you comfortable with the fact of like, this is a fight. People are fighting for this stuff and there's gonna be like antagonism because of that. I just enjoyed it. It was all right. Very, very quick read. Okay, next up, I am gonna set the timer, but this is one of the 2 exceptions. So timer going, but may well be completely ignored. Marvelous Light by Freya Marske. This, oh my God, I love it. This is one of my new favorite books. This was a 5-star read, no question whatsoever. I love it a lot. It's so good. I do have a vlog again where I read this one along with another book I'll get to in a minute in my 5-star predictions reading vlog, and you will see in that. I very much love this book. Very simply, this is set in Edwardian England, so 1900s, I think early 1900s maybe, and you're following 2 guys, one of whom has been like thrust into this new job, doesn't know what he's doing, and the other who has magic, and one of them is learning about magic, the other is kind of explaining it. It's all really interesting. There's a bit of like a mystery going on. The romance is immaculate. It is just longing and pining and oh, it was so good. I think I've said this in that other vlog, but I'll say it again here. Yeah, screw the timer on this one. My one complaint with this book is the historical accuracy. Not that it wasn't accurate, that it was. I was really hoping, given that we're in a world where it's magical and all of this, that they would feel no need to include homophobia. And yet, one of the reasons there was so much longing and pining and not just like a relationship was because it's in a world where it wasn't necessarily okay. And I feel like, although accurate, that put an unnecessary sour taste to it when it all could have just been happy and cute. And I know this is probably because I read a lot of fantasy where like homophobia is just ignored and I grandly enjoy it. So I was a little bit disappointed from that regard, but like, I can't really complain, it was accurate. It just felt like, did it need to be accurate in that regard? I don't know. But I really enjoyed this, like a whole lot. Beautifully written, many tabs as you can see. I love it. I want to reread it. It's stunning. I will be forcing this book on everyone. There is also a sequel coming out next year, which is Sapphic, which I'm mildly less interested in simply because it's set at sea and I don't like books set at sea. But I'll read it anyway, I'm sure, and I'm sure I will love it a lot. Okay, I feel not bad about using my exemption there, especially as the next 3 books I almost guaranteed won't need a minute for each. Like, we're just gonna power through these a little bit, but let's start anyway. If it wants to. There we go. So, first, Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I love these books. I'm about to talk about all 3 of them. This is a fantasy, not fantasy, this is a romance, adult romance series by Talia Hibbert, who is a British author. And I realised when rereading these, as I realised when I first read them, I just love reading romances set in England and set in the UK, and the language and the humour and just everything about it I just adore. It's not obviously worlds apart from the US in terms of culture, like it's really not that different at all. It's both very Western and, you know, all of that. But it is a different vibe, just like the social classes and things like that. It is really different and I really enjoy reading it. Anyway, first one to probably give you a synopsis follows Chloe, who has fibromyalgia and other like chronic illnesses, and she gets into an incident which is like a near-death incident, and looks back on her life and realizes like, oh my god, it's boring. Let's go make my life interesting. And she meets Red, Red helps her, romance ensues, it's a grand old time. Yes, let's move on to the second book. Okay, second book, possibly my favourite sister in the series, is Take a Hint, Dani Brown. This follows Dani, and in this, She is looking to the universe to give her a hint of a new fuck buddy, basically. That is what she wants. She doesn't want a relationship, she doesn't want anything complicated, she just wants someone to sleep with. And the universe keeps pointing her towards Zaf, who is the security guard at the building she works at. She is a PhD student and teaches, and he's a security guard at this like lecture building. And he is very much in love with her. She sees him as a mate, and they decide to basically fake date after a social media storm goes viral with them together, and they fake date and they sleep together, and it's all very chill until obviously they both absolutely have feelings for each other, and it's all hilarious. I love Danny so much. She is also bi, which is cool, and Zaf is adorable. It's a good old time. I love it a whole heckin' ton. But I'm still so torn about which one's my favourite book, but I think it might have to be Act Your Age, Eve Brown. This is the third and final book in the trilogy following Eve, the youngest of the three Brown sisters. And Eve is flamboyant, to say the least, but she bounces around between interests, between trying to make her interests into jobs, and she never quite commits to one. Every time one seems to be going well, she bails. And I actually really enjoy the almost analysis done on that kind of attitude of not feeling confident to stick with something and almost bailing out, and what that kind of brings. It's really interesting, but she goes to a B&B, to bed and breakfast, to kind of apply for a job there, and runs over with her car the manager, and so she has to take over to cover for him whilst he's ill. And it's an absolute hate to love. It's phenomenal. It is the softest but sexiest book. I love it so much. Autism rap in this, which is also Own Voices, because Talia Hibbert. It's great. That's my timer. Shut up. All three of these are 5-star books. It is probably my favourite romance series of all time, and I don't think that will probably ever be rivaled. I love it so much. Please go read it if you haven't already, though most of you probably have. Talia Hibbert is a goddess. Okay, next up, I'm again probably not going to need a full minute for, but it is My Brother's Husband Volume 2. I have no real different thoughts on this than the first one. Again, I really, really, really enjoy the conversations happening in here. I love a couple of like the little side plots almost more than the central plot. This guy's wife or ex-wife or whoever she is, like the kid's mum, impeccable, talks some real fucking sense into him, which I truly enjoy. It's good, it's interesting. The character growth across these two books is amazing, but it still just didn't quite do enough for me. I think this would have been like, I liked it in manga format because you got some really interesting like introspective-y bits that were illustrated in a really interesting way, but I almost feel like this needed to be more fleshed out. Like I would have loved to have read like a 300-page novel of this with like a proper internal monologue and delved into some of it more, because like across two books it felt very quick, the amount of character growth we got, but it was still good. I loved it. Very positive story. As I said, I believe this was the second book, but the final book, but it may not be. It left in a place that like it could definitely be the end, but if they wanted to do more, they definitely could as well. Okay, next book, we have another reread, They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This is a YA kind of speculative dystopian following a world a little bit in the future. I don't even think much in the future, to be honest. I don't know what year it's set in, but not far in the future at all, if actually at all. Now in the past, 2017. So I guess a slightly alternate world more than anything, following Matteo and Rufus. And in this world, on the day you're going to die, someone calls you at like midnight, basically saying, you're dying today, good luck, you got 24 hours max. Don't know if you've even got that long. And Matteo and Rufus are both on their final days and end up meeting up and have this adorable day together. They learn so much about themselves. It's heartbreaking. I cry like a baby every time I read this book. I love it. And a prequel is coming out this year, so all the hype is there, and I was like, yeah, screw it, let's do a reread, and I'm glad I did. It was 5 stars again. I was worried, being older now, whether like a YA wouldn't hit the same. Honestly, screw the timer, this is a masterpiece. I love it. I don't care if people say it's not that great. I personally love it and think it is perfectly done. It's a fantastic book in my eyes. I feel like I'm slowly but surely losing the ability to speak, but we've only got 5 books left, so hopefully I can get through it. Anyway, on to the next book, please. This is one I'm not going to be quite so positive about. Verity by Colleen Hoover. I didn't really vlog my experience reading this, but I did read this entire book on sprints, so if you wanna, I'll try and find those sprints and link them down below so you can see, like, you know, hourly updates for all of my thoughts of this book, because I read the entire thing in one set of sprints. This is apparently a romantic thriller. Honestly, I would just call it a thriller. Like, there was not enough romance in it to call it a romance at all, at least not convincing ones. I gave this a 3-star. I considered giving it lower, but we're gonna go with a 3 because I had some fun whilst reading it. Everyone talks about how disturbing this is and how, like, oh my god, the ending is insane. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I've spoken to Christy and India about it, who both love this book, and, like, I see their point of view. Didn't work for me at all. Like, at all. Throughout, the suspense was good. I was, like, on the edge of my seat. I wanted to know what was going to happen. It made me feel kind of creeped out. So, like, it did all of those things really well. That was quick. I'm gonna slightly go over. It did build atmosphere really well. It kept me feeling creeped, but the ending, which everyone loves, pissed me the hell off. Literally, the ending started and I rolled my eyes and went, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, you've just ruined the entire book in the ending. 3 stars. Not a favourite. It was a fun enough read. I'm glad to understand, or at least have seen, why everyone is so hyped about it. Okay. Next up, we have the most ridiculous book I read, probably, Matched by Ali Condi. On said sprints, where I was reading Verity, I think, myself and Christy and a few others decided we're kind of going to do a bit of a read-along of this series informally, and so Christy and I, on sprints, read this one together. And I love it. This is a massive nostalgia reread for me. I read these when I was like 13, maybe. It's a YA dystopian again, and follows a world where, like, everything is dictated. Everything about your life is dictated. Most notably, given the title, who you're going to be with for the rest of your life. You get matched to them, and this girl gets matched to a guy, but when she goes to find out more about him, the screen, like, glitches and shows another person as well, and it triggers her to basically start questioning the world she lives in and whether it's right. I gave this somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4. It deserves a 3.5, but out of pure nostalgia value and me reading it and being like, oh my god, I remember this, it kind of felt like a 4. It was good, it was interesting, one of the least developed dystopians I've read, but I am intrigued to continue with the series over the next couple months and see how I feel about the rest of it. It's a bit of fun. Okay, next book is one I'm glad we have the timer for, because otherwise I will go on about it for 20 minutes. I think I'm blurry. I don't have time for this. Out of Love by Hazel Hayes. Oh, again, watch my 5-star prediction video if you want to see more detailed thoughts about this, because I do go on about this book for about 25 minutes. I gave it 2 stars and it was a 5-star prediction, so that tells you something. I hated this book. I hated it. This is the one I DNF'd at 250 pages, but classed as read because I'd read enough of it. This is just a miserable book with miserable people who are doing everything in their power to keep themselves miserable. And that was my big crux and my big problem with this book, is they're not trying to make themselves happier, they're not trying to fix anything, they are intentionally trying to keep themselves sad so they can be sad and moan about it, and it bugged me. The only character I liked was the, like, side character, the, like, best friend. She was great, everyone else sucked. I don't like any of them, I don't like the plot. The format was trying to be interesting in telling the romance backwards, it didn't work at all, it just meant it was repetitive. No, do not recommend. If you loved it, good for you. I say do not recommend. I can't recommend it. I know a lot of people love this book, so maybe I'm the anomaly, but oof. Okay, next book is another one I'm almost certainly going to ignore the timer on, but we'll give it a go anyway. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Actually, I am not going to say too much, because if you watch a vlog that I have coming out in 2 days' time, you will see my full thoughts on this. I have a self-care vlog coming out in 2 days. If it's past that time now, I'll have linked it in the description. I love this book so much. This was a 5-star read. I love it so much. It screws with my lighting every time I hold it up because it's so shiny. Oh, it's so good. This follows our main characters, Sam and why is my brain blanking? What are their names? Sadie, that's the one. who meet in a hospital waiting room when they are kids. Sam is there because he is unwell, Sadie is there waiting and visiting her sister, and basically they bond over a shared love of games and reconnect years later and decide to make a video game together. This is set in like the 80s, 90s, yeah, nah. When video games are kind of first becoming a thing, I guess, in a really popular way. And oh my god, this is just a character study. It is gorgeous. It flips back and forth with time a bit, but it is done in the most beautiful way. I just love this book so much. It is gorgeously written. The characters are phenomenal. The story is so interesting. I cannot recommend it highly enough. I'm also a dick because it doesn't come out till July and I'm raving about it now. But oh my god, please go pre-order it. It's also stunning, and I think the finished copy is going to look like this as well. So, you know, you want to have it on your shelves. Look at the damn thing. Please read it. Please. And then on to the final book, which was The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is an adult romance. It is the first in the Dreamland Billionaires series. I really enjoyed this. I think I ended up giving it like a 4. Simply because of the ending. I loved this throughout. I agree there are some toxic moments and, you know, all of that, but it was like good vibes of it was fun to read, so I kind of don't care. You know, a lot of romance relationships are toxic and like it's a bit of fun. No one really cares. You're not trying to portray the perfect romance. And my exception to this rule is, as in every book, it has the third act breakup, every romance book, and I actually think what was done in that instance was like potentially pushing the boundary of redeemable. So then when it all got fixed super quickly, I was like, really? Are we good with this? And then in like the epilogue-y bit, we see them happily together because romance, it was so toxic. I was like, okay, we've gone from like cute, possessive, he's a billionaire and isn't used to not getting his way, to like, I own you. And wasn't vibing with that. So I had to knock a star off for that. I'm still going to continue the series. The second book's out. I need to get a hold of it. But slightly disappointing ending, but super fun. I didn't give a premise for this. It's a romance. I'm sure you can figure it out. It's hate to love. Enjoy. Okay, there we go. I'm not picking up a stack of 23 books because it will collapse on top of me and I might die. But those are all the books I read in February and March. As I said, quite a lot of them. Hopefully this video is not too long. I've been filming for 42 minutes, which is a lot longer than I thought. So like, it might be kind of long, but I did my best. But I hope you enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed doing minute challenge, though I just spoke fast instead of speaking less. But yes, those are all the books I read. Bit of a successful couple months. Yeah, I've had a good time. If you've read any of these books and you have thoughts, let me know. Let me know how your reading has gone in February and March. What was the total number of books you read across the 2 months? And I'm sure I've used this one before, but leave the book stack emoji down below to let me know you've watched all the way to the end. But that is it for the video. Give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more bookish content from me. Links down below to all of my other social media if you want to connect anywhere else. But that is it for this video, so bye, and I'll see you in the next one.